Hey guys, welcome to the Bay Area Sports Addiction. My name's Alex, and today we have Brian joining us. And just kicking it off, we're going to be talking about the 49ers today. Last week, 49ers ended up blowing out the Seahawks in the Wildcard round, 41-23. Brian, this one was a close one in the first half. Niners were actually down 17-16 at half. I don't know if you saw anything in the first half that kind of made you a little bit wary of how the game was going. I don't know. To me, it gave me a little bit of that Atlanta Falcons game feels from the regular season, where like we felt like we were playing well, but for some reason we were losing. Yeah. I don't know if you had any thoughts about that first half.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Brock honestly just did not have a great first half, which was really honestly good to see in the grand scheme of things, seeing him bounce back in the second half and, play lights out in that second half. The boneheaded mistake by Jimmy Ward at the end to give him a field goal. I don't know what they were doing, squibbing the ball, just kind of setting up them to get the lead right before the half, but clearly worked out. The major difference between, I had the same, Atlanta Falcons vibes as well, but major differences, we didn't have CMC, didn't have Brock Purdy, and we had 8 of our starters on defense out that game. This team that we're watching now is just they make adjustments in the second half that I've never seen Niners teams make before. They come out playing just lights out every single game, and that's what fires me up coming into this divisional round against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Some things that I had in my notes were, in the second quarter, there was that DK Metcalf 50-yard, go route against Charvarius Ward. Yeah. And personally, I was thinking, okay, we're pretty good in the 49ers run a lot of zone coverage and they're really good at it. But in that case, he was playing press man, and I think that is a vulnerability that the 49ers defense has is they can get beat by sprinters, Tyreek Hills, DK Metcalfs. But looking ahead to the Cowboys, I don't really see a wide receiver on their roster that has that just raw speed. But
CD's skill set is pretty different than DK. CD's also a dominant receiver. I'd put them kind of in that same category for elite receivers. But I think that DK has just the ability to break down a game against the Niners more so than CD, because CD really is a slot receiver at the end of the day. Not necessarily that big play guy that DK is, and that's really where DK hurt us for the stat line. He had a great day, but most of his yards came on that one catch. And I just don't really see CD beating us deep like that. That is the one vulnerability, though, on the Niners defense that is kind of glaring is the deep threat. Their safety's been playing well, and, exactly, Hufang has been getting his flowers this year. But, yeah, they definitely have the ability to be beaten deep. We've kind of seen that throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just touching on the second half, you kind of pointed to it earlier. Purdy in that second half, 9 of 11 for 185 of his 332 total passing yards, which was actually the third highest in 49ers playoff history. Joe Montana was 1 and 2 at 357 and 347. But like you touched on earlier, the defense made the key adjustments. Seattle had 17 points in that second quarter, and then just 6 in the entire second half. Yeah. But I think the real nail in the coffin was that Omenihu strip sack. The Niners came out right out of the half, scored a touchdown, and then we were like, all right, this is, if the Seahawks come down here, we have a game. But, we were both at Green Sports Bar on Polk, and, I happened to be in the restroom, but I heard everyone go crazy. So that I had to rewatch some of the highlights, but that was I think a key moment that switched that game up.
Definitely. And another thing is that how stupid do you have to be to mess with Deebo Samuel? Come on. That fired up the entire team, getting everybody the bench is clearing. This is a team that plays angry to start. Don't make them any angrier. That was just a dumb move by was it Griffin? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. All right, well, moving on from that Seattle wildcard game, we're recording this currently on Saturday, January 21st, right before the start of the divisional round. And the 49ers play the Cowboys at 3:30 on Sunday, the last game of the weekend. This is a playoff rivalry game, and I'm super here for it. The 49ers and Cowboys have played each other 8 times in the playoffs in the past, 3 straight times in the 70s, 3 straight times in the 90s. Last year, obviously, and then actually in 1981, which is the catch game with Dwight Clark. In the 8 meetings, 5 of the winner of this game 5 times has gone on to win the Super Bowl. I just think that's crazy. I think this rivalry started off being very much dominated by the Cowboys. The Cowboys won 1970, 1971, 1972. And then the 49ers win 1981, the catch, obviously. Then the Cowboys win the next 2 in 92 and 93, both NFC championship games. And then the 49ers win in 94, NFC championship game. And the 49ers go on to win the Super Bowl. So I just want to get your opinion. Is this rivalry back? I mean, I maybe it never left, but to me, like, this is going to be the most watched game of the weekend.
Easily. I think this is the new era of this rivalry. I wasn't alive for any of those prior games, so that's like my dad's rivalry. And now we have my age of the Niners playing the Cowboys 2 years in a row in the playoffs, and both of these teams aren't going away. Like a lot of these guys are young, except for Zeke. Zeke's obviously kind of losing steam here, but yeah, I can see this happening again and again in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, hopefully. Yeah, I think this is just kind of the start of the next age of this rivalry here, which is pumped to see it this weekend, and I'm a little bit nervous, but I think I was thinking about it, like, is this Cowboys team any better than they were last year? Maybe on the defensive side of the ball a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think this Niners team is so much better than they were last year, and this Cowboys team is not much better, if at all, than last year. I don't see the Niners dropping this one, but I being cautiously optimistic here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the script kind of flipped because if I remember correctly, like last year, the Cowboys had the number 1 offense in the league coming into that game, and the 49ers held them to 7 points through 3 quarters. So that, and now they're like one of the top defenses in the league. Obviously, the 49ers have the number 1 defense in the league. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the 49ers team is so much better. The Cowboys lost Amari Cooper. Their O-line's a little bit beat up. I think they have a rookie, Tyler Smith, is playing one of the tackle positions. So, yeah, everything's pointing to the 49ers should, dominate this game if they can execute, but we will have to see. All right, so moving on to our next segment, we're going to do a little draft here. What are going to be some of the top storylines or keys to either team winning this game? And we'll do it as a snake draft. So Brian, you can go first, and then it'll go to me and back to you.
Yeah, I think it starts up front. Both defensive fronts, are some of the best in the league. Whoever wins that battle in the trenches, I think, is going to win the game. I think the Niners are going to come out with a game plan to, attack and stop Micah Parsons. But that dude is a game wrecker, so you never know. And then we have Bosa on the opposite side, which is, an absolute unit as well. So I think, that's really what I'm going to be watching first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see how many times Parsons lines up across from Trent Williams. That will be fun to watch. But yeah, it'll probably be McGlinchey most of the time. All right, for me, I am gonna go with the Shanahan offense versus the Dan Quinn defense. Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, was the head coach of that Atlanta Falcons team that went to the Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as the OC. We're gonna see if Kyle, is really up to his stuff, because he knows all of the rules that the Dan Quinn defense plays by, and Kyle's very good at breaking those rules, and that's how he gets defenses in a bind. I think from what I've seen and from the research I did, the Dan Quinn defense for the Cowboys struggles against tight ends. So I think there's an opportunity for George Kittle in this game to take advantage of their linebackers. They also have the 31st defensive rating against wide receiver twos. So I think that Brandon Ayuk is going to absolutely shred Trevon Diggs. I cannot wait. Last year, I don't know if you remember last year in the game, Ayuk cooked Diggs so hard and he was wide open and Jimmy just sailed it. He tried to make like a one-handed catch and didn't end up making the play, but it was a touchdown. It would have sealed the game.
That's one of my favorite Ayuk routes, is seeing him just absolutely burn
yeah.
the play.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that matchup and who can win between Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn obviously had Kyle as his OC, so he also knows some of Kyle's tricks.
Yeah,
but Kyle's honestly, like, the offense has evolved over the past few years, especially like there's a lot of play action motion, and then in the past year or two, especially with like new quarterbacks coming in, it's turned in a lot more bootlegs, and we'll see.
It's so weird that he's using Brock Purdy the way I would have expected him to use Trey Lance, and I mean, I'm happy about it now. But it's just crazy to think about like the way the season's gone and how his offense has changed with each different quarterback we've had in the offense. Yeah, that was another, my next kind of key to victory is Ayuk versus Diggs. Diggs is a ball hawk, and I think another part of that is just kind of winning the turnover battle. If that man gets 2 interceptions, we're going to be in some trouble. But realistically, he's not that great in coverage. He really hasn't been. His main skill is ball hawking. So Ayuk, like you said, I think is going to have a field day on Diggs. That's what I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch as well.
Yeah.
So my next pick will be Kellen Moore versus D'Amico round 2. Kind of in the same vein, we played last year in the playoffs. And I mentioned before, D'Amico Ryans and the 49ers defense held the Cowboys to 7 points through 3 quarters last year, the number 1 offense in the league at the time. Kellen Moore uses a lot of trickery. I believe they had like 2 hook and ladders in that game.
They had a fake punt too.
Yeah, and a fake punt. They were down like 23-7 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Like when all this stuff was going on. So maybe we'll see some of that, and hopefully D'Amico's prepared for it. But both of them are, interviewing for head coaching jobs. They're really good at what they do. So I'm very excited to see this matchup. Also, like, in that is, Bosa, 18.5 sacks, leading 48 QB hits, both first in the league this year, most likely defensive player of the year. And the Cowboys offensive line actually gave up the 4th fewest sacks in the league this year. So he'll be lining up against Tyler and Tyron Smith at the tackle positions. Bosa likes to go against right tackles more than left tackles, so it'll be him against the rookie. So we will have to see how that matchup goes.
I mean, that rookie is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's given up the most sacks on the team. So I think, it's a great opportunity for Bosa. What do they say? A-plus players play, lights out in A-plus games. I think Bosa is going to have a field day. My next thing was, I really thought about this because of Skip Bayless saying, how he preferred Pollard over CMC, but who's going to run the ball better? The Niners, have the best run defense in the league, and the Cowboys are decently stout against the run as well. I think that's going to be a really big thing to watch. CMC has, obviously just been ridiculously good for the Niners. Anybody who doubted that trade can now, shut their mouths. It's clear that, I think it's probably going to go down as maybe one of the best in-season trades of all time. Sorry, someone's ringing my door. But yeah, that's another key to victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think this is gonna be the last one for us here, but I'm gonna say this could end up being a close game. Like I hope it's not, but will Brett Maher be on or off? Last week missed 4 PATs in a row, most ever.
I'm interested to see if they come out going for 2 on their first touchdown, if they score touchdown.
I don't think they will, because they're gonna need him to if they get into scoring position, they can't put it in the end zone. They're gonna have to kick field goals, and they can't show that they don't have confidence in him, just on PATs.
Yeah,
he was 50 of 53 during the regular season, which is he missed more in one game than he did all season. So we'll have to see how that turns out. I actually think he missed one in the Commanders game to end the season for them. So who knows? Maybe he's on a bad streak, or maybe it was just that game. But I think
developed the yips in front of everyone's eyes.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I think McCarthy brought on some other kicker this week. It was like Vizcaino or something. And I was listening to some Barstool podcasts, and they were talking how great of a move it was because they brought in the worst kicker they could possibly find. That way they could prop up Mayer to make him feel better about himself. We'll see if that tactic works. But I just thought that's a funny storyline I heard this week.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, we're going to move on to our last segment here. Just a recap of Wildcard weekend. So the teams that ended up winning, the 49ers, obviously. The Jaguars beat the Chargers in what was an insane comeback. That kind of I know that ruined some of our picks. I definitely had the Chargers. And then the Bills beat the Dolphins. And that game was actually a lot closer than I think a lot of us were expecting. The Giants beat the fraudulent Vikings. Mm-hmm. Kind of saw that coming.
Yep.
Bengals beat Baltimore. That was kind of given, and especially with Lamar Jackson not playing. And
also,
then
questionably close game.
Yeah, also a lot closer. Yeah.
John doesn't give up a 99-yard fumble 6. I mean,
mm-hmm.
A whole different game there.
Yeah. That would have been a fun one to watch. And then the Cowboys just kind of rolled over the Bucs. They, even with all those missed field goals, they were completely fine the entire game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, I want you to give me your picks for the divisional round this weekend.
All right, we're going outright to win here.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to say the Jags are gonna go upset the Chiefs, it's just not gonna happen. I don't think. I think the Chiefs have it in the bag. I honestly think that this Giants-Eagles game is going to come down to whoever has the ball at the end of the game. I know that's a hot take, but I think this Giants team is sneaky good. And, Saquon is playing his mind out this year. I don't know. The Eagles barely hung on against them in the last game of the regular season. They beat them by 6 points. I think I'm going to go with the Giants on this one. Maybe a little bit selfishly because I want to go to the NFC Championship game in Santa Clara. But I'm going to go with the Giants. Niners. I think Niners by 14. Fingers crossed. I don't have to sweat that game out. And what was the last one? Bills Bengals. Oh man. neither of those teams looked as good as I would have expected them to last week. There's really I guess there's no team in the NFL right now that doesn't have any flaws, but those teams both looked beatable last week against teams that they really shouldn't be losing to. So it's really a toss-up for me. I think the Bengals are going to come out victorious. I like Joe Burrow, and I love Josh Allen too, but doesn't exactly protect the football. I think he probably turns over the ball 2 times. Bengals come away with a victory.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my picks were basically the same. I had one flipped, but I had Kansas City. I think, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, that I think their magic may have run out in this playoff run. They're maybe a year or two away from actually, being one of those top contenders in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to end up winning their division for the next couple of years too. I'm going to go with Cincinnati as well. I know there's been a lot of talk because of, the Bengals O-line has been gotten injured over the past week. But I agree the turnovers are going to be what wins this game. I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win that game. Mm-hmm. Both defenses are pretty good this
mm-hmm.
year. But I think Cincinnati is going to come out on top. I think Joe Burrow, he gets the ball out fast, so he's going to try and minimize the liability that the O-line is right now.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's going to be Cincinnati in that game. For me, I chose Philly over the Giants because I think they both have pretty similar offenses. Maybe mostly just because they have quarterbacks that can scramble and run.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, the Giants have more of a rushing attack. I believe they had the 5th or 6th best rushing attack in the league this year, in terms of yardage. And then the Eagles have the passing attack that I think can really turn the tide of the game. I think that the O-line and the D-line for the Eagles is better than the Giants. The Giants do have, Andrew Thomas is really good on that left side of the offensive line, and Kayvon Thibodeau obviously on the defensive side. But I think that Philly just has better defense all around. Their DBs and safeties are pretty awesome this year at least. So I think Philly's going to take that. And then, of course, 49ers capping off the weekend. You said 14 points?
I think 14.
Yeah.
I think 31-17.
I like that. I think that's a good line.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers will also win by 14. I think that's a good.
They're favored by 4 points in Vegas. I think the implied score, I think it's like over under like 53 or 52. So like 27-23 or my math is just not working for me today. But
something like that.
Somewhere around there. But you're honestly with the Eagles take top to bottom, the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're clearly better than the Giants. I just think the Giants have a little magic, man. I don't know. I think it's playoff football. Some crazy things happen. You got to have one upset this weekend. I think that's what I'm going with.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, that looks like the 4 best. If Philly makes it over the Giants, I think that's the 4 best teams
100%.
All year. The Bills and Cincinnati are close. I think the Bills start off really hot, and then kind of the turnovers kind of caught up to them towards the end of the year. But yeah, if Cincinnati wins, won't be a neutral site game. It'll be in Kansas City. So that I think that's way more fun than having a neutral site game. Then it just turns into like a college football playoff type deal. I'm not the biggest fan for the NFL, at least.
I mean, I really hope, I'm dreaming of a Bengals-Niners Super Bowl. I think that's the best matchup for the Niners. I think their defense in front have an absolute field day. Probably get like 6 sacks against the Bengals. Joe Burrow is, an elite quarterback for sure, and he gets the ball out quick, but that really eliminates any threat of Jamar Chase just streaking down the sideline. When you have Bosa, Omenahu, Armstead, these just absolute beasts coming at you. and you have, some DoorDash delivery driver guarding you on the right tackle. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm, been dreaming of. So we'll see.
Well, all right. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys like this Bay Area sports addiction content, please leave a like and follow us on Twitter, Bay Sports Addict. And yeah, we will see you next time.